Welcome to this training course, which brought to you by CA Management Services. We're going to go through and show you different features of Triumph. Something you will notice down the bottom is there's a table of contents. The course is anywhere between 1 and 2 hours long if you go through the whole course, but if you actually look at the table of contents, we've broken it into distinct sections, which allows you to go in and pick a section and just do a section and then come back to it later. Also means that if you have got staff who need to learn particular functions, you can grab them to just go through that particular section. As you are going through though, we do try and cover off on a few exercises and things like that, but it is designed so that you can pick and choose the areas that you want to come in and use. Hopefully you enjoy the course. Look forward to getting some feedback. Thank you. The objective of this training course is just to allow you to go through and learn some of the features and to practice some of the skills that you'll get by using Triumph Accounting. When you're going through, you'll see we covered different parts of the modules, and there are sections in there where we will actually give you exercises. So it is good if you open up the demonstration company and go through and try some of the exercises while you're doing it. Good luck. Hopefully you'll enjoy the course. In this slide here, I'm not going to actually read you the slide, and it's standard through the course. You'll get different slides coming up. I'm not going to actually talk to you about every one of them. It's really aimed for you to stop and have a read, have a think about what it means, and then you'll basically be able to click on to the next place where you'll be listening to a video. Thank you. The Triumph Creditor is a fairly simple module. Follows the same concepts of all the other modules if you've been looking at any of them. First thing it always does is starts off with the transactions, which is you're doing your data entry. Then you have your file maintenance inquiry area. The listings is all the static information which you can record under file maintenance inquiry. Reports give you any of the transactions that actually do calculations. Special processing is really a list of other functions that aren't listed in the 3 or 4 above. And then you have all your sub-modules, in this case, purchase ordering. So we'll just have a quick look at each area. So you just see in transaction entry, we can take a creditor's invoice in from a supplier. We can do a credit note from a supplier. We can pay them with a manual payment process, record journals, and then match up their balances and allocate payments against each individual invoice. If we go into file maintenance, you'll find in the file maintenance we've got all of the sort of pre-settings that you need to set up a standard system. The main one that you'll look for is the credit account maintenance. In here we can search for this under the different search functions or using the 3 dots. I can pull up a creditor. In the creditor it'll then give me the street address, postal address, the contacts that you want to keep on every creditor, a whole heap of operational information about how you pay them, what are their terms, what groups and categories, whether they're subcontractors, etc. If we're sending documents out to them, we can set this up so that we can have all the different forms and things going out. There's either printed or emailed and who they go to. You can set up a corporate environment so that you can have creditors within creditors or parent-children type relationships. You can set up their EFT payments, how they're getting paid, and if you are doing it with different currencies, different types of banking systems. Documents allows you to pull in documents and have recorded documents against suppliers, and Incoterms are bringing in any of the overseas terms of when you're taking ownership. Let's just look up the outstanding purchase orders. If you're running the purchase order module, figures will give us a detail of how much have you spent with this supplier for the month, the year, last year, when did you last invoice them, or they last invoiced you, when did you last pay them, what's your current outstanding balances. We then go in and this and start having a look at transactions. It'll actually give us a detailed list of all of the transactions on a creditor's account, and let us look at it and reprint transactions. So as this then loads itself up, we'll now have a look at this, and this gives us all of the outstanding invoices and payments. when did things have been invoiced, how much is applied, how much the original invoice was. Let's just go back and have a look at all the paid invoices, or all outstanding ones up to 99 months. When you're looking at an invoice, you can drop out a report into Excel, you can reprint a form, you can automatically reverse or repeat an invoice. You can put things on hold or change their due date. So on hold lets you hold things so they won't get paid automatically. View the lines that are in an invoice. Look at how an invoice has been applied against the payment. Or you can drill in with an event inquiry to look at the general ledger journals or who did the actual transaction. Coming back out of that area. Looking at listings, it gives you all of the listings of things you're able to maintain. Reports, a whole string of different reports, things like foreign currency. The main one that people use in here is the creditor's trial balance. So this gives an ability to go and have a look at people's transactions, and you can detail whether you want to see with transactions or with drill down details of contacts. So I'll just do it with that and transactions. So this will then give us a list of all of the amounts outstanding for this creditors. So we can see in there that this is the account, how much we owe them, contacts if we want to ring them, and this is a list of the outstanding invoices and payments, how much we've still got outstanding on them. And then you've got all the other different audit reports of things. Special processing allows you to do an automatic pay run. So this is when you're creating an ABA file to upload to the bank, and it'll then do automatic emailing of remittances out to people. It means that there's a whole process of checking and confirming that's what you do want to pay. And there's a few other things at end of month and end changing period. And you've then got your sub-module being purchase ordering. I won't cover that at the moment. There is a specific video on purchase ordering, but you can see it can actually link it all up together.
To go through and have a look at creditors in detail, I can now go into the creditors, go to File Maintenance Inquiry. If I go to Creditors Account Maintenance, and see that to do this, it's actually a shortcut key CFA, and as I look at this scene, it's down here as CFA, so it is a shortcut to there. To pull up a creditor, I hit the three dots or the lookup button or press F4. It'll bring up for me all of the actual creditors balances or outstanding creditors we've got, and I can go for a search under the alternate code or the group, postcode, currency, parent group. So there's letting me sort in there. If I actually go into the name and type in something like "and," it'll do a search within there to find anything that's got the word "and" in it. If I cancel back out of there, and if I just put in a code that I do know and press either the F9 key or the find, it will find the nearest fit. If I press F8 or next, it goes through to the next ones, and F7 will take me back the same way. If I now have a little look at the screen, the code is up to 8-digit alphanumeric code, so when you're setting up a person, you do need to have that. The alternate code defaults off the creditor's name in most cases, so it will take the first 10 characters of their name and put it in as an alternate code, but you can use the alternate code for other purposes yourself. Name self-explanatory. If we come down to the street address, you can actually have 4 lines of street address. Normal default is 2 lines, suburb, postcode, etc., and you can do a search under there, and then you've got country code. Where you need to have, you don't need country, you can actually just use that as a 3rd line of the post of the street address, and you can have a postal address. If you see the little icons here, if I click on these, it will go and actually pull up into a Google map of that address, find that, and in this case it's giving me a street view as well. I'll minimise out of there. I can put in an email address and click on where it's blue, it'll actually take me off into their website. Same thing with phone number, you'll see the blue here, I'll actually click, if I've got the VoIP phone set up, it'll actually go and ring the phone. Puts in the fax. If I carry on through the icons and go to contacts, When you are moving between these, you can actually hold the control key down and go control 1, control 2, control 3, and let you move between different tabs. If I'm looking in here, I can see I've got 2 accounts set up on this at the moment. One for Doug, who is the purchasing officer, and another one for Bill, who is the accounts person. Each one of them we can have their phone, home phone number, fax, different mobile, another contact phone, and 2 email addresses, their Skype handle and another handle, so we can have their Twitter account or their Facebook account. We can link these people up with multiple accounts, and we can edit and change their details. If I want to just go new, I can come in here and it will actually let me fill in the name of the person, so I can go Miss Julie Smith, and she's in accounts, and we can put her phone number or email in, Julie, and we can put in the other details that we want with her. So if I just save that now, that lets me come out of here, and you'll see now we have Julie as an extra contact. I'll skip over operation and just go to business forms, because with the business forms you can set up the system to send any form through. So if I look briefly at what we've got here, we've got recipient created tax invoices, remittance advices, purchase orders, requests for quotes. If I just go to the remittance advices, which is auto pay, I'll see I've got it currently set up at the moment for 3 email addresses. The first one is going to the default email address. Question that most people ask is, what is the default email address? If I skip back onto contacts, I can see here that Bill is the accounts person, so he will always be the default in that case because it's an accounts one. If I was looking at a purchase order one, in that case there, under contacts, it would actually be going to Doug. I go back to that business form for remittance advice again and go, I've actually got it going to Bill twice. I don't actually want that to happen. I want to change Bill and have Julie getting a copy of that, so I can click on the top bit and I can pick Julie. Trick there is always to click on this little top bit here and actually bring you the contacts. The third one there is to Richard Lee, and Richard Lee, if we click on here, isn't actually a contact within the organisation. What I've done there is go to System Contacts and pick up System Contact that's not part of that organisation, which could be our sales rep, our purchasing officer, that we want them to get details emailed through them. I'll skip over there and we'll go back to operations. So the first one we've got in here is open item. So with an open item, you can either have open item or balance forward. Pretty much mandatory now, it's always open item. You can set up a credit limit. It's only set up as a guide for people to what your credit limit is with your customer. So if you are getting close, it'll give you a warning. ABN number, not mandatory, but if you want to keep an ABN number of your supplier. We then have the ability to have normal accounts, and most people are normal, but the other 2 are fairly easy on the claim. First one to be deleted, so it's been flagged for deletion. Flagging for deletion can either be done by flicking it into here, or you just come up to the top here and you click the delete button. We'll just do that for a moment. It'll come up and say, I want to flag this person for deletion. And if I do that, and you'll see it now puts a little red cross on there, and I'll see a red cross when I do an inquiry that this person, if I click on that there again, I can unflag them. So all it's doing with that flagging is setting them up to asking them to be deleted, and then through the other special processing, it lets you run a deletion process if that item meets the criteria for history and archiving, lets you do the deletion. Back onto the special status, the other one is temporary account. Where this creditor might only be for a short term, and you can set them up so that once they're paid, their account will automatically delete. You also have a related concept of being able to transfer them to another account. So if you had multiple accounts that you want to transfer into one corporate, where someone suddenly set up 2 creditors with the same name, you can transfer them all together. Automatic payments. Do we actually pay people automatically through the pay one, so we can send them EFT or check runs in one go? Or are they set up to be only manual payments? Something to be note there, if you are doing a foreign currency credit, they will never go through automatic payments. They're always a manual payment. How do we pay people? Do we pay them by cash, cheque, credit card, EFT? I'll leave this one on cheque, but you can actually define how you're going to do them. Most people tend to be either cheque or EFT, so we can do remittance advices. BYG and withholding tax, only sort of used with where people don't give you your ABN numbers, etc. But you can set that up for special occasions. What is the price list? So you'll note down here the default supplier's price list to use 0 for last buy price. So when you're actually setting up stock items, you can actually nominate what buy price you're getting it at. On a line-by-line basis, as you're doing the invoice, you can nominate whether the default process is to go to stock, general ledger, job or stock job, just to save keystroke time. And if it is a job line, do we want it to go to a direct purchase or straight to a subcontractor type line? I'll make that back to a stock line. And have they offered us special discounts or discount levels? So we can set up structures so that your discount levels that the supplier is offering you is coming through onto the invoicing as they come through. We then have the ability to define different types of aging. So what is the person's aging? The managers, are we on a monthly account, a weekly or fortnightly account? The terms that they've offered us, when do we have to pay them? Are we on COD with them on 7 days, so we can start to get due date reports of when we should be paying their accounts. We can group creditors into different groups. So in this case we've got non-stock suppliers and normal stock suppliers. Most common one people talk about is their cash on deliveries or their prompt payment creditors or their subcontractors because they get paid in a special run. We can link them up to a purchasing group. So this ability of the purchasing officer, you can rename this to whatever you like. In this case, we said it's a purchasing officer to say who's going to be the employee or person that's controlling that purchasing plan. You'll note that the currency type is shaded out on this account. I've set this person up as being base currency, and if you go to someone that isn't, so we go to this guy, he's actually set to Great British Pound. A creditor can only be one type, so once they're set to Great British Pound, they stay with that all the time. If you have a creditor that does want to be you have different currencies, you need to set up a specific account that they all for each currency, and then use the corporate structure to group them together. Let's go back to Sitman's common one. Tax code, you'll see it's normally left blank. In a normal processing thing, there's no need to have a tax code in there because it will default to being GST, but if you were dealing with an overseas creditor, you could default it to their overseas tax code, which is normally F4, so there's no GST applicable. Transfer, we've talked about. We can then set up expense code as a default, so when you're processing, if it's electricity or the accountant's fees or lawyers, you can always have the same expense key come up on the invoice. Optionally, there's a flag in the setup to turn on dual control accounts. In most cases, people only have the one trade creditors account, but you can actually set that up to have multiple trade creditors accounts for different creditors. Most of the time I'll leave it turned off, but optional if you want to have that. Business forms we've been through. Corporate structure, there's an ability to have parent, and when you say parent structures, it's really saying we're going to have multiple accounts, or we've got multiple branches, and when people send us their bills, we're going to group them all together and send them back a group payment. So we can say this person is the parent of this group and they're going to have children. And when we do set up children, we then define how do we want them to report. So normally separate means they all have their own accounts and we know they're grouped together, but we don't combine them or report them. They can just report in their standard based on their creditor code. Combine means we accumulate all the totals into one total on a report. Chain brings all of the different accounts together and lists them one after the other and gives us a total of all of the accounts that are related. I'm not going to set this person up as a parent. I'm going to leave them as none. When we do set up a parent, we then need to individually set up each of their children. EFT payments, fairly simple. If you are doing EFT payments, what's the BSB, what's the bank account, what's the reference? In this case, we're working on an Australian company. There is an ability in the setup in the banking to actually work with other overseas banking systems. If you have a look in the banking system, you can see the other options that are available for overseas processing, where it gives you the other types of accounts they need for transferring funds. Documents, fairly simple. What this lets us do is go and pull up an account, and in this case I've linked in there very easily the document. So this now lets us just link up, so I can go back to that creditor. I could open, in that case, that Excel file, I could open it up, print it, link it, etc. Just giving nice searching. Incoterms used more so that when doing lots of importing, and if you just scan down and understand this, there is a standard code which are international terms for importing things. That's really when things are going. So common ones, free on board, people see, just so it actually default through onto your purchasing, and you can actually then define what's the delivery port that you would normally be delivering port against. Just having a look now at figure inquiry. It'll give us what we bought for the month for this person, what we bought for the year, what we bought off them for last year, last invoice we had, last payment we made, and more importantly it tells us what do we actually owe them at the moment, and then a breakdown based on the terms that, or the aging type that you've set up. In this case it's 30, 60, 90 days, future, and we've got retention. If I close there for a moment and change my aging type to a weekly, and just save that so you can see what actually happens as we change this. If I then did a figure inquiry, you would see there's been 7, 14, 21 days, and it actually automatically does all that aging on the fly. I'll change that back again to monthly so it's consistent, and press F2 to save that, so it updates that person. So if I now drill in, I can either drill in by going figures, transactions, or I can just go straight to transactions, and what this gives us is a list of all the transactions that are currently outstanding. If I make that a bit wider, you can see that there is quite a deal of information here. So what's invoice or payment, transaction numbers, the ability to put something on a particular invoice on hold, reference details, the event number in Triumph, when's the date of the invoice, when's it due to be paid. We'll see here an invoice was originally 27,000, we still owe 17,000. We click on the applied transaction, you can see that we've actually had a certain amount applied against this payment, so there they are, and they're the payments and credit notes. What's quite good is you can, if you've made a mistake, unapply all of those or unapply individual items and then reapply them through the transaction balance allocation. Carry on looking across here, we can look at other descriptions, and you can, by right mouse clicking, go to column order and choose to actually move fields around the page to say, yep, that's where I want to have my information, so you can have them in a different order, whatever suits you, and it's really user definable. So at the moment we're actually looking at what's currently outstanding, and we can go back and look at history, which is all the paid invoices up to 99 months, depends on what history we've set up. And we can also go to the future, which is next month's invoices. Concept of current and future is all about current is what's currently outstanding, future is next month's. The traditional accounting type world is accounting staff have month ends and they want to know, well, how much do we owe at the end of this month, but operational staff don't care. And that's why you'll see the future lets them carry on processing on an online basis. So everything can just carry on without having to worry about accounting people. Some of the things we can look down here that lets us do, if I'm looking at that invoice, I can go and view the lines of what was on that invoice, seeing each of the entries and the details of what was behind it. I can do an event inquiry, which will go off and give me the general ledger journals. I might make that a little bit bigger so we can see them. So this actually gives me the journals that behind that entry, and all the ins and outs, but more importantly also tells me when it was posted, date and time, where it went in the general ledger, what financial period, what operator did it, where they were sitting with their workstation, and what program did it. So quite good for tracking back history of what happened. We can also go and do a reprint form, and a reprint form lets us print, preview, fax or emails turned on, and we'll just preview that. Let me go and look at a copy of the invoice. So in this case I'm getting a recipient created tax invoice, and if I go to change or on hold, I can actually come in here and change when something is due. So based on the normal terms we've offered people, we can then change the due date, or if I want to put it on hold, I can put this invoice on hold and have a reason for why it's on hold, which is quite handy because you can then put something on hold, allowing people to pay other invoices but not the one that's in dispute. Commonly we also use this on hold to actually hold transactions that haven't yet been approved. In a lot of cases where you've got management staff who have to approve invoices, you can enter them in and just put them in there on hold and say, hey, this is a staff member that we're waiting on their authorisation. Quite confirm that. Okay, I think that covers us off for most of those. The other thing that we can see in here is purchase orders. So if we've got any purchase orders outstanding on this creditor, well actually let's look at those purchase orders and we can see purchase order number 1, and here are the different lines that are on that one, and gives us the details. In the same situation we can just drill in there and see each one to see what's happening. That's it for creditors.
So here's a list of all of the different types of transactions that you can actually do. You'll see we've done videos for each different one. When you're going through, by all means, I would suggest that you stop at the end of each video and actually go onto your play system and try and do a few of the transactions yourself. Because at the end of all of the videos, we're going to give you some exercises to test you out. And what we've seen running it in practice is most people would have liked to have had a bit more time to play with it before they do their exercises. So the good thing is with this training video, you can just stop, go and have a play in the real system, come back to it, have another go from there. Hopefully you enjoy it.
So when you're trying to set up creditors for the first time, you can't just go straight into a creditors account maintenance. It's a requirement to set up some of the other fields around it. So the trick that I use here normally is we start at the bottom and work our way up from there. I won't go and talk about foreign currency maintenance at this stage, but you do need to make sure you've got all your GST cards set in there, and the standard system will already have these set up in by default. On hold reasons, so if you want to have different reasons for on hold, so I could be going invoices with accountant, so I can have those invoices with, so I'm able to set up and make sure I can give these people the things. So nice and easy to do that. Aging periods. You can define the different aging periods, so you can actually, in this case, we've got weekly and monthly, but you can set up different aging periods. Something to note is any aging period you set up in here also get processed across into the debtors area. Credit terms, the ability to set up and say, I want to have 30 days from end of month. I might want to have another one which is 30 days from invoice. And I'll set that up in there, and you'll see that actually I can do this from end of month or end of invoice, or I can actually do an end of aging period. So where in some occasions you may be doing weekly statement runs or weekly or fortnightly statement runs, you can set up to have special terms based on those statement runs. In this case I'll just do it on 30 days of invoice, and you can set up to have special discounts in there. If we look at one that's set up for the discounts, in this case we're saying they pay in 30 days, or pay within 7 days, they'll get another 2.5% discount, otherwise they get their normal 30 days. Going on back up to purchasing officer, so the purchasing officer's name that you can give it, so it's really a group, and you can put in there Bill Smith as the purchasing officer. Save that, come out of there, and create a group account so you can actually set up and have another group in there. So I can have my prompt payment set up as a group. And then when I go to creditor account maintenance, if you go into that other video we've done on that, you'll see that all of these fields need to be maintained before you can actually finalise and save one. So in setting up creditors initially, we do need to go to system maintenance, system setup, and under creditor control. There are numerous options you can set in here. So if we just work our way through each one. Settlement discount, this gives the ability, and you'll see down here it gives real prompts. So if your customers are offering, or your suppliers are offering you settlement discounts and you wish to take them up so that when you're doing automatic pay runs that you're getting the best advantage of what they're offering you, you can take that up and record them. If you don't wish to have that, you can turn it off. Retentions, does your business run with retentions, yes or no? You can turn it off if you wish to. Do you have parent branches? And you can turn those on and off. Do you deal with withholding tax because you haven't got an ABN on the supplier's invoice? If you want to actually match up your what this immediately matches up any withholding tax against the invoice you've done the withholding for. If you want to group people into different things, and this is where we can see a group name for purchasing officer. Multiple control accounts, which we talked about having that set up in the maintenance. Applying future transactions, pretty much always turned on at this stage, but what it allows you to do is, if you want to do automatic payment runs or transactions into the future past your month end, you do need to have this on so you can actually marry up a payment against and allocate it to an invoice. Do you allow duplicate invoices? So you can actually allow duplicate invoices to creditor, and a warning will display if an existing one happens, or you can say I won't allow that, and every invoice has to have a unique number. Do you want an alert? So if you're putting in notes on a supplier, do you want to have an alert pop up as you're doing a transaction that something's got to be followed through? I've talked about that. When's the month end that relates to this account? How much history do you want to keep on transactions? And you can keep up to 99 months worth of history. Do you want to keep transactions in remittance, on the remittance? So this is just a printing function. Do you actually want automatic payments turned on to most people? Most people it's set by default, so it will happen. You can set up automatic journal numbers, payment numbers, EFT numbers, and for when you're setting up creditors to begin with, you can default their groupings, their agings, their turns, if they've got a purchasing officer, open item, and whether you can take $1 or a percentage discount. So to experiment with that, it's worth turning off some of these functions and just seeing which menu options do and don't change. Something to note is when doing creditor control, there are some other areas that you should look at for when you're doing creditors. Under general ledger control, maintenance, it's necessary to actually set up your control codes in here to say where's your normal creditor control account, settlement discount, retention, withholding tax are going to go to in your general ledger. And it's worth also being conscious that under tax control, you need to set up to have your GST account in place. So just giving you a couple of things that are worth looking at there. So we'll just go in now and have a look at doing a transaction in creditors. As you can see, there are numerous transactions. We're just going to focus initially on a creditor's invoice entry. Something to do notice with Creditor invoice entry, there is also an entry of invoices through purchase ordering. This transaction we're doing here is essentially assuming there's been no purchase order raised. So even where there is a purchase order raised should be entered through the purchasing rather than through here. We'll just pull up my favourite example, Mr. Sickman here, and we can say when's the invoice date coming in, what's the invoice number, so we're actually recording it off their transaction details they've given us. If we've given them an order number, which in this case I'm just going to say it was a Fred, the ability to put in an amount, this is actually a check total, so normally when you have a creditor's invoice, your data entry putting in may actually have a total on it, so that you can actually put in the amount that you're expecting to pay and it will check it for you. The system automatically works for you when the due date, so this guy's account is based on 30 days from the end of month, so it's gone to the end of March and then added 30 days. We can put something on hold and we can put it in there and say it's overcharged if we wanted to. I won't do that at this stage. It'll come through and it gives me my different price lists. So this, based on this person, we're going to use price list 1. I'll change that to costs for today. And if there's a special, any line discount they're offering us, any withholding tax, we haven't given them our ABN number. Who's the purchasing officer, and the ability to put in a description. If we've got a foreign currency invoice, we can actually adjust the exchange rate. It comes in, we can actually take up settlement discounts, so if they've offered that if we pay early there's some discount, it will take up and report for us on that. And if it's one where we've got retentions, we can enter retentions, both percentages and amounts on the fly. I won't do that at the moment. When we come into this, you'll see that there's numerous types of transactions we can do. We can do stock, general ledger, job, disbursements, and the system lets us default on the creditor which way we go to. We do the first one, which is a creditor's stock invoice. I can pick a stock item, normally not supplied, so it's giving me a warning there. It's how many are we buying, what's the price, and if you click on the 3 dots, it'll actually see if there was actually a price list, what was the price list for this item. In the case that this person wasn't normally buying from him, we can put in discounts, tax, and we can override the GST to see what's there. The little click button here is adjust price, and this is optionally set in the inventory. If I click on this one, I can then go to my selling prices here and automatically have it calculate what my new selling prices should be based on my predefined markups, or I can actually go and change the selling prices that I want to have in there myself manually, and that can flow through into my inventory control system. And pricing of those. Other things that are available while we're doing this, it will tell me how many I've got available, what I've got in order, details of how much is a carton, conversions, pictures of what we're actually buying. I won't adjust any pricing at the moment. While I am doing that data entry, a couple of tricky things that we for data entry. Normally most people come to and do an X tax ad, but I can actually come in here and say this is 440 ink tax, and you'll see what it does is actually do a backwards calculation, and now it tells me that there's been a cost increase and I should be considering updating my prices. I won't at the moment, I'll let that ride. I will go and do it. The other thing we can also do here is, what I wanted to do is I click in there. I can actually come in here and actually do some alternate things by alternate code, and it's not on the screen, but you can actually, there's also an alternate stock code. But if I do it with another way, which is by Control Q, so Alt Q, wrong key, by Alt Q, you'll see it actually changes. So I can look it up by the alternate code or the supplier stock code. So if I look up here on the stock code, normally we get our stock codes. If I go Alt Q and now click, it'll actually bring it up to me by the alternate code. Or if I go Alt Q again, it now brings up the supplier stock code, and it only tells me the items that this supplier normally supplies me, which is an 0692, and I can bring that in, and so I can then bring in their costings, etc., and it brings through their last costings. To do the data entry, and a lot of the time if you're trying to do it fast, you can either press the down arrow key on your keyboard or hit the append button, and it will finish that line off for me without having to jump through all the extra the fields. I'm just going to put this back now to standard one, which is hold Q again, and we'll go on to the general ledger line. The general ledger line, same thing, lets me look up my general ledger codes, and when I'm looking up these I can search by the description or by the account code. I'll do it insurance, a description of what it is. We can put in the quantity if we want a quantity, or we can put in the amount, discounts, tax, and same thing, we can do reverse calculations. I can do job lines, so going to a job item, I won't go into depth, but I can go for job and search for those by jobs and names and descriptions, same as everywhere else. What cost centre does it relate to? Something that you should just note here, you'll see there's a little thing here, this tells me that on that job I have some notes, so if I want to go and look at those notes I can. Description, am I doing purchases or service or subcontract time? How many am I buying? What's the cost of these items? In this case I'm going over budget on the job. We'll see that later when we look at the jobbing area. How much am I charging out, as in markups, tax, actual amount, charge amount. Where I've done that, I can also then put in disbursement lines, and this normal disbursement line could either be a dollar value or a percentage. So if I put a dollar value in and we call it freight, classically this is where you had $50 freight charge on the invoice, and you want to actually allocate that $50 against all the other items in that invoice. Something that you can do with disbursement lines, if I come back and put another stock item in, and then do another disbursement line, I can actually have a percentage and add 10% to that. So what that will do there in this case is those disbursements there allocates the ones up there, this disbursement allocates to there. The rule is the disbursement line will go up to the next blank line or up to the previous disbursement. Alright, if I hit OK then I'm expecting that it won't actually let me process this. It'll come back with a warning, and the warning is invoice loans must total to the invoice amount. The reason it's come up with that is I put up here that the total is $2,056.97, and previously when I set my header in I had a check total of that. Optionally I could convert this back to zero and not do any check total. In this case I will actually put in, and then I know it balances and I can process an invoice through. And I think that covers invoice. So we're now going to go and have a look at creditor's credit note entry. Very similar to putting in an invoice. So we put through an invoice, it's who's the creditor, the date. We can put a credit note number in oil, and normally the reason you're getting one is you've actually got the credit note from your supplier, what their number is. So I'll put in credit note 45, our order number, so we can do our check total. And you'll notice here these details here are always per an invoice. I won't go through each one in detail. I'll come down into the lines. As I'm doing a line, I can pick the stock item, how many I'm doing, the prices, and you can see what's available. So essentially allowing you to do the same thing. You can do general ledger lines, job lines, you can do disbursements, and you can do a description of why you're doing it. So it's very simple, it's a process. So let's just briefly do it. A job line, general ledger line, so I can whack one in. I shouldn't be putting it to opening stock, it should be going to something like purchases. How much? process it through. Job line, cost center. Like the down arrow in that process, I'll then just put a description line. Credit because items broken in shipping. Once I've done that, I can process that. The system will then ask me whether I wish to apply it. If I say yes to that, it then automatically pops up to the apply screen where we can see all the current outstanding invoices, and I can see it's automatically picked that up, and I can now go and either pick an invoice and apply it to select that one, or normally the case is you can pick it and go, I will auto apply, and when I auto apply it takes that one and then puts the rest to the next one, or I can change that around. Once I hit OK, then it's automatically applied, and that's the end of a credit note. So we want to now go in and have a look at doing a creditor manual payment. The creditor manual payment is all about where you've decided how much you're going to pay someone, and you've essentially either drawn the cheque or sent them the money, and you want to record that. You're not actually asking the system to tell you what to pay. So if I pull up my favourite creditor again, and we're going to do a transaction, I can put in the cheque number, or if I leave it blank, it will give me the next one. I can put in the amount that I'm paying. If I'm doing a foreign currency one, it will actually come up and ask me for the exchange rates. Let's just do that so you can see that coming through. So what actually happens here, I can put in the amount that I'm paying in the other currency and put how much I'm paying in the Australian currency, and you'll see it actually does a conversion back for me. I won't actually process that one. I'll come back to the one I was going to do and process it through. We can choose, and by default it says this person will be paid by cheque, but we can do it by cheque, payment, EFT. And to note with a manual payment, if you do it by EFT, you still need to go to your banking system and do the EFT manually. The automatic payment run is where it produces the automatic EFT. I'll just do this one as a cheque. We can, if we do a cheque, if we do a credit card, we can pay something through our credit card, and optionally we have extra fees charged on having used a credit card for our allocation. Won't do that for this one, but you'd be worth testing it. What bank account is this money coming out of? Any description? We can add settlement discount, so if we're claiming a settlement discount on something, we can put it through and claim $10, and it will ask us where do we want this to be coded to, and claims the GST up. If we hit OK there, it'll then ask us to do the apply, and we can just, as we've done before, auto apply that, and you'll see it's actually applied $1,010, which is the $1,000 payment plus the $10 settlement discount. And we can actually print a remittance advice if we've got that turned on. So if I click that and have a look at it, we can now see a remittance advice coming through and see, well, what invoice was it paid off. While we're over there, there's a couple of other things just to look at. Normally when you're putting a transaction through and you go, is that $500 for this person, you can click on the apply inquiry and it will tell you there's all the outstanding invoices on that person. Common mistake is people go in here and do the apply on that screen. It is actually only an inquiry screen, it's not a data entry screen. The data entry screen only comes after you've done the OK, because what happens behind the scenes is it will actually process the payment as a separate transaction to the allocation. If you ever make a mistake and you say, I need to actually put a reversing entry through, it's a matter of putting a negative amount in, so I've now put a minus $500 in, and it asks me whether I want to do a correction. You'll see that in the note down here, to correct the entry is a receipt refund from the creditor. The difference being a correcting entry will do exactly the same germ entries in reverse, while if I do a receipt refund from the creditor, it will actually treat it as if it is a deposit of money from that person and needs to therefore go through the bank reconciliation deposit funds, and will actually go onto our bank deposit slips. But if I'll do one so we can see it. It'll ask me, is it a cheque or is it cash? So it's no different to anything else. I can say it's cash, process it through, and it'll pull it up to say there's the amount, and I can allocate. I won't allocate it, I'll just let it process through. I can print a reverse remittance advice of what's happening. Just going to go in now and have a look at doing a creditor journal entry. Creditor journal entry, if you've done any other transactions like the debtors journal entry, you'll find this is exactly the same. It gives you the journal number. If it's a foreign currency, you can put in a currency amount. It will then come in. The trick to doing this is you'll always find the creditor you want to adjust, and you can put in the reference to why you're doing a journal. Error to wrong creditor. And the way to do this, if I want to take money off this person's account, I put minus $100. If I want to add it to their account, I'd put plus $200. So I can put that in there. If I want to do that, I could put it to another creditor, so I can move the money from one creditor to another, or I can do a contra against a debtor's account, or I can link it back against the general ledger. So if I just put a contra against the debtor's account, pick the debtor, and you'll see it. All I need to do now is put through the other side of that, which is a minus $200. I don't need to understand whether it's a debit or credit. I just need to work on it and adding and subtracting from my creditor. Put that in, and transaction's done. While we're doing creditors and journals, we will just have a quick look at the other ones that we've got here. The retention entry. So retention entry normally gets added to a creditor at the time when you're doing the invoice, but subsequent to an invoice coming in, you can pull up an invoice and put in a retention. How much is it? So I can put in that this is going to be $100 retention, and it's going to be due on a certain date when it's going to be retention. So it could be set to be 2013, which is this demo company 12 months away. So that will now hold that on that account. If I close that now and briefly go back and look at the creditors account, we'll see now we've got a retention sitting on there. What's actually happened behind the scenes on that retention, it's taken the transaction out and put it into the future. And if we look at applied transactions, oh, no, we need to go to the actual invoice that it was against. And I didn't actually look at which one I used, but let's have a look at that one. No, I'll go to history and actually put it in here and tell me there it is. It's the automatic retention adjustment, so it tells me it's been a journal where it's actually gone against. So it was against that invoice number. And it'll then flow that through all the reports. What will happen with that retention? It will then, in 12 months' time, automatically come available for release, or if I wanted to release it earlier, I could go back into that transaction entry and do my own manual release. The last place we're just doing transactions is the transaction balance allocation. If I have a look at this, we've previously seen these allocations in other areas. If I pick a transaction, I can select it, and then I can choose to allocate that against the transaction. Or I could have chosen that it was only going to get $100 against that one, and then or to apply the rest to the next one. So it allocates it out for me. And this is where, if you've previously been through the Creditors Master, you can see we can unallocate transactions, and then we can reallocate with this function. That will essentially done all our basic transactions. In the previous video, we would have been through all of these transactions. There is one other area which is not under transactions, it's under special processing, where we do an automatic payment run. This is more designed where you want the system to tell you how much you should be paying based on the criteria set there. So we just go in here to create a payment list. It's a wizard system, and you'll see if you actually read this, it's defining what's there. I'll just go next through there, and I can set it up to do monthly pay run. So I'm doing my monthly pay run. What date do I want to pay up to? I can choose to do a single aging period, so I could just be doing my weekly on monthly ones. I won't do that. I can choose to just do my cash, people, check, credit, EFT. I'm just going to do check for today. And I can choose to pick to do all invoices, or do invoices up to a certain due date, or invoices up to a certain date. So letting me make selection. I'm just going to do all in this case. I can take up settlement discounts up to a certain date, so it will actually check that there'll be a settlement discount if it's available to take them. And we can choose to do it by creditor groups, alternate groups, so we can actually group the ones we want to report on. I'm now going to run this, and it's gone through and selected 24 transactions I believe to run. If I now want to have a look at that, what this is, I can print the payment list and give me this run. Now it's sitting there, and I can include their terms and contacts, etc. on the report. If I just add those on, and we can run the report. And now it gives us, here's the person and the details of terms of payment and contact, but it's giving me a list of here's all the outstanding transactions, and this is what I would owe them to. It's Triumph's actually selected for me what it believes we should pay. And if I go to the bottom of this report, it comes up with a grand total of this is how much we've got to pay out based on our current selections. If I'm looking at that going, oh, that's a bit too much to pay out and I want to make some changes, what will have happened when that ran, it will have ignored anything that was on hold. So if I had a payment on hold, that won't have come through. But I can come to my edit list now, pull up my list, hit enter, and we'll have a look at the list. So picking up who this person is. So here are all my creditors. It's showing me what's there to be paid. You can come in here now and choose to, so I'm only going to pay this person $10,000 on that invoice. Updating the line on that one there, I don't want to pay anything. Or I can actually come through here and decide I want to delete the certain transactions off this list completely. So just giving me the list of what I want them to pay, so I can manually clean that up and just have what's there. I can at the same time hit add transactions, and it will give me, let's bring that back on screen, it'll give me a list there of what invoices, so I can actually, I want to bring that invoice back into the list, so it will bring it back into the list. I can pick a supplier, and you'll see this is a supplier here that is of parent children, so here are all the children, and it's coming under that group. I won't do that one, I'll pick this one here and go, I want to delete this creditor, or I can delete this person here as well. And then I can say, look, I want to add a creditor in, and it will give me other creditors, so I can add them back into my list. So bringing them back and forth. The trick being is, as you do this list, you pick and choose, so then you can rerun your payment list and pick up my list and preview that, which is now giving me a much shorter list of what I was going to pay and slightly less money. So that's good, I'm happy to pay that. So closing that now, I can, now normally what we do is get that payment list authorised by the check signatory and give them any backing documentation they require to go with it. Once that's done, you can print remittance advices, so printing remittance advices that go with it. I won't print all those straight off, but that lets me print the remittance advices, normally setting them up to email them out to people so they'll go out. We can then produce the EFT file, so this will actually produce the file to go to the banking system. and to letting you pick up your ABA file to transfer to the bank. So what happens in process is you've been able to select all your transactions, email remittances, and select automatically to update your banking system. If it's all gone through happy, then we go to commit, and as we commit we hit next, and we can then choose the bank account that we're going to pull it from, and we can hit commit and it will actually pay everything. Before I do that, something that's worth looking at is if I went now to do a manual payment and picked up this person here to pay him, and I just do an apply inquiry, you'll see as I'm looking at this, different lines are coming in different colours. So you'll see these ones are all in blue, but as I get to the top one, so there's one that flips to yellow. What happens in the background of the system is if it's been selected for payment already and you're trying to actually reallocate to it through the manual payment method, it pops it up in yellow to say this has actually been selected in automatic payment. So aiming to stop the potential that you can double pay things. So, and when we do in process the commitment, it will take these from being yellow and bring them back to being blue, and we'll take them out of outstanding and bring them over into history anyway. So I think that covers off doing your an automatic payment. There are some notes in your training course which you should go through the procedure and actually run one yourself. I'll leave that with you to go through now. So after you've been maintaining anything, under listings, it gives you the ability to actually produce a series of listings. So if you've been through the other maintenance things, you'll see any of the listings that you've done, you can actually get a listing. So if we went to purchase officer, you can come in here and I can preview that, and we can see where previously we'd set a Bill Smith in, it'll actually give us a listing of that. So as we do any report, you can then decide to put it out to printer, or if you click on the export button, it will give you a whole raft of different areas and things that you can put it out to PDF, Crystal, Word, Excel, and different formats. And you can then send it to the file, or you can actually have it go straight to the application, or you can send it out into an email format, which is under Mappy. A couple of things that are quite handy to use while you are doing them there. If you actually click on this search text, you could actually put in any part of the description and go find next, and it will find, move that on, bill for me. So that's good with any report where you're looking for a particular number or particular reference. And doesn't matter how big the report it is to search it. It will come out of that simple report, and you can go to, if you go to the creditor account listings, it gives you a few more varieties. You can get one that's giving you the full detail of all details you put in, a summary one, or just with the addresses. And then you can group it by certain categories, and you can do certain selections on it. If I just do a detail one, so you have a quick summary of what's there, it'll give us each creditor's account. And same thing if I went under search and put in, let's go with the number 14 and go find next. It'll find the first 14, I can find the next one after that, so it goes through the whole report. So from a listing point of view, nice and easy to work with. The other reports that we get are then more, as a listing is just giving us details of master files, but the reports themselves will actually give us transactions and details. So if we come into here, now you will see there's a whole raft of reports. First one's fairly simple, it's the creditor trial balance. The key thing with all the reports is the different options you've got. So I can actually choose to do all periods. So we had a look at an aging period, we'd be getting all our weekly and monthly people. Or if I choose to just do a single period, it would just do my monthly creditors. I can put in the date, so it lets me backdate. an age trial balance back to last month or the month before, and we can then choose to do reports with transactions or with drill downs. It would be worth doing the exercise yourself of just trying a few of these reports to see what the differences are. I'll do one with a drill down. I'll include a contact. I'll include the last payment. I'll include the credit limit. I'll include a graph. I won't do the foreign currency. I will group it by the creditor group, and I can then do exceptions of people who have got outstanding balances more than 120 days, or I look at selections. I can do a range for certain characteristics. I preview that, gives me that report. A couple of things you will note, if I've actually got in blue, I could actually click on this and make it ring via VoIP phone, or I could send them an email address, or I can click on sit them there and actually give me a list of their outstanding invoices that we're talking about. What's quite handy with that is if I wanted to make notes on a person who I went back to a creditor's account, you can actually pull up a creditor's account and keep notes on a person's account and actually put alerts so that you can give people warnings about certain things. This account needs to be paid before we can pick up new goods, etc. Or we just have general notes of our discussions about the account or what excuses we've given them for not paying this week. Other reports, we've looked at a trial balance. Cash required report really uses the due date that's on an invoice versus under trial balance it's using the invoice date. And if we run this report, it'll actually give us what do we, based on our due dates, this is how much we're going to be due to pay next month, this is what we're currently due. We've also got an ability to have an overdue breakdown. So an overdue breakdown gives us a list that these accounts here are 120 days overdue to what we should have paid them. So this maybe we should be paying some of this guy's account. I expect maybe some of this is on hold or something of that nature. We can get a clearly on hold transactions, include contacts, same thing with exceptions, same with things with selections. I'm not going to try all of these, but you can see if I go in here I can do a range from a certain group to a certain group. That way you could pick out and run the report just for that category. Statistics, nice report, gives me a quick overview of what have I bought for the period this year, last year per supplier. Period transaction registers, and if I go in here, there's actually a few transactions in the creditor transaction. List of all my purchases, payments, journals, retentions, any gain or losses, any withholding tax. Something that confuses some people with this financial period, if I actually put a range in, the dates that come up here are only month-end dates. It isn't a date-to-date because each month-end is grouped together in a category. If I want to select things by dates, I would go in and do it by the transaction date. What we should just note as well is also the ability with audit trails to look back at the physical date the transaction was entered, not what was just dated on the transaction, and who physically entered it. And you'll see there's another range and characteristics that you can look up, and the invoice numbers, etc. Worthwhile having a bit of an experiment through some of these. Unallocated credits or debits, anyone where we've got balances that we've paid them money but we haven't, or had credit notes but we haven't yet matched against an invoice, and a creditor transaction report gives us, if I pick a person here, Mr. Sitman again, you'll see it's giving me all of their invoices, even though some of them may have been previously allocated. There's no allocation details in there. It just gives me, in this case, a list of every invoice and every payment that he's had. So it sounds similar to an age trial balance, but age trial balance only gives you what's currently outstanding. This gives you a list of their history. People in debit, so do we owe them money, something that's not quite common. A list of notes. So if we put notes in here, we can get a report out of those notes, and we can actually select and choose that by certain criteria. And the tax register gives us a list of all of our purchases, And if I look at this, it'll give me here all the purchases I've had for the month, the amount, and then breaks them into the different tax codes. And foreign currency gain or loss, I'll quick look at that. This one actually gives us the ability to say, well, what transactions we've had and what gains losses we've had on each transaction. I think that covers all the standard reporting. So we have a look at special processing to see what else is in the system. We've already been through the automatic payments. Creditor's integrity check runs through and does an integrity check to see that, I come back to here, that your total transactions marry up to your grand totals in reports. So if I just come back out of here for a minute, it's looking under a creditor's account and checks that what's showing on your figures here actually agrees to the transactions that are backing it up. Just in case something physically has happened to the system, so when it runs, it will run them through, checking those, and if you want to then have it, it will actually rectify those problems for you. I won't run one, but you can run that. We talked about in the maintenance about how to actually flag things for deletions. You can actually delete them, and it will run through and actually delete transactions. So I just set this man here now to delete. So you can see he's now set for delete, and we'll run one of those, and you'll see when I'm running this it actually lets me do more than one module at a time. I'm just going to do that one module, and even though I have this person set up, it won't let me delete it because it has outstanding balances and retention balances. So flagging it doesn't necessarily delete it. It will just check to see whether other criteria have been, all other criteria have been marked before it can be deleted. So come back out of there, and go back in and just take that deletion flag off him. Alright, so other things we can do in here, we can change a creditor's code, and this lets us come through and we can set up an import file that we can bring from Excel as a CSV file, which is essentially giving us the old code and the new code. I can choose the groups that want to do it, and I can do some automatic adding of numbers, inserting, replacing fields, etc. Or if I jump straight to something, I can add one in here and say I'm going to change this person here to Fred, and I'll go next, and I can print a report, or I can I'll just go and process that. It is a process that has to be in single user, and it's gone through there. And if we pull up our creditor now, we now have this Fred being marked at West, and it has changed all of their history and all of their transactions to Fred, so they can all be followed through. So it goes back to everything that's in the system. And last but not least is purchase ordering. You can actually come through and actually do an end of period, and it'll actually let you do the month end. When you get to the 30th of June, it will ask you to do an end of year. I won't run that, but it is a process that you do need to run each month to clean up things, but it's not essential it's run on a particular day. There is an actual end of month procedure that got the standard reports and things we would suggest you'd run, and that's in your notes for you to work through. The only other area we've got here is we have the ability to have sub-modules in this little area. Purchase ordering is its own separate training area, and if we want to have user-defined options, we can have user-defined options and reports included in the system. So if we went to debtors briefly, you'd see a user options where we can have other reports set up. In the creditors, in this example, we haven't got anything in place. I will now just go and do one thing. I've going to cover as well as just one extra is we do foreign currency maintenance. This just lets us set up a currency and puts in the existing rates or the new rates that we're running for today. I think that's covered everything we need to cover in creditors.
So what we've included here is a couple of links to different websites where you can actually get a whole heap of useful documents that may or may not relate to the training course you've just been doing, but we've gradually been accumulating different notes and shortcuts that can come in handy. So feel free to go and have a look.
So now we're in creditors and you're starting to actually wanting to raise purchase orders. So purchase orders is always a sub-module of creditors. We go into here and have a look at, essentially has the same memory structure you'd see in all other modules. But if we go into a purchase order and we'll just do a simple purchase order, we have a look at orders and we can do a general order, a quote. So general order is a repetitive order, quote's a quote for an order. I'm going to do a very simple order. Gives it an order number. You can pull up a creditor, choose who you want to order things from, filling in all the details of where you want it delivered to, lets you come in and you can say, look, I want to order a stock line, a general ledger line, job line, stock and job, disbursement or description. I'll just do a very simple stock line for the moment. If I'm ordering these stock lines, yes, not from this supplier, how many do I want to order, the price, when do I want it delivered, off it goes. Or I can do a general ledger line, similar sort of thing, what GL accounts for, and each and the price. They're very simple to process that. Whack through the purchase order and you can look at the purchase order on screen to see what it is, or you can fax and email it out to someone. Once you've got the purchase order, the system allows you to either receive them in and then receive the invoicing separately, or you can do it all in one combined document. It lets you then produce reports of what's outstanding for purchase orders, what's outstanding for items, notification of what's been delivered. Key components of this from an accounting point of view, it does actually then deal with all of your as you're doing your goods receipting, it does bring them in as a cruising into your liability account, and then when you actually receive your invoice it takes it out of the liability account and puts it into the creditor's account itself. So just letting you track through how much is there, and if we're looking at an order, on any order you can then look up and see the details of any deliveries and instructions, etc. that have come through, to make it nice and simple to track and know what liability you've got left in your business. If you want more details, carry on through the training course.
Hopefully at this stage you're sick of listening to my voice, which is good, but you've also learnt some of these skills along the way. And this is the last slide, so well done, congratulations, you've now completed the course.